And the Tide gets lane number 2, Nate Brown. Lane 3 is Chip Hanauer with Miss Budweiser. Remember, there is no lane 1 today. Mark Tate will be in lane number 4 in Smokin' Joe's. And on the outside in the front row in lane 5, the T-Plus, driven by Steve David. The trailer boat will be the Miss Madison, driven by Mike Hansen, about 15 seconds back. And the X-side will be the second trailer, another 15 seconds back. He qualified for this position by winning the last chance.
As they come down for the start, you can see they are lined up, and I'm going to bet that they are going to get the okay from the referee to go racing, and they do. This is the championship heat. Miss Budweiser in lane number 3 is trying to take the lead. It's the Tide on the inside to the right of your screen as they go down into that turn. Remember, there is wind on the back stretch. As they come out of the turn, that's where they have to be especially careful, because that wind hits the nose of the boat. It tends to pick it up. Miss Budweiser leading the pack, but right behind him, it really is a pack. You have the Tide on the inside that you can see on the other side of the Rooster Tail. The Smokin' Joe's is riding right outside of the Tide, still vying for second place. And the T-Plus is on the outside of him, back in 4th place, really just off a 3rd, as you can see from the Rooster Tail out the window of the T-Plus.
Remember, this is rough water now coming through these turns. They have to be careful, and they have to negotiate this 2.5-mile course with, oh, he goes right through the Rooster Tail. You saw the T-Bus go in the inside of the number 3 boat, the Tide. Oh, my. And as I started to say, this is 5 full laps of negotiation.
Smokin' Joe's has now moved up into a position to challenge the Miss Budweiser. So it's Chip Hanauer in the red Miss Budweiser in lane number 3. And don't count out the Tide. On the inside, Nate Brown is trying hard to get his speed up there. He knows that he's got a chance at the 2 lead boats, and there are the 2 leaders side by side. Miss Budweiser leading, Smokin' Joe's is second, and the Tide with Nate Brown as third. But up front, it is deck-to-deck racing, side by side. A good example of these drivers giving respect to each other's equipment, as well as their own, and of course, to each other as drivers.
Oh, they're traveling the length of a football field in 1.1 second in the straightaways, deck to deck, side by side, coming down to complete lap number 2. It's just a blink of an eye between these 2 boats, first and second.
And Jim Nate Brown is sitting back in 3rd place, and he knows that if either one of these boats who are going flat to the wall to beat each other, if one of them blinks an eye or has a slight hesitation, he could move up. Here is the T-Plus. That boat riding a little bit light still. I don't think Steve David's totally happy with the ride of the boat. You can see from inside the windshield how the boat is going. It seems smooth in there, but on the outside you can see how the front tends to come up a little bit.
They're averaging about 145 mile an hour around this 2.5-mile oval, which means speeds around 189 to 191, somewhere there in the straightaways.
And if you're a trailer boat like the X-side, we're riding aboard the X-side right at the moment. Mark Evans is really having to battle that steering wheel because he's sitting in the wake of the other boats. 152 mile per hour for the Tide as he tries to catch the leaders. He was a little bit off the pace. He is really trying to find the power now. Back in 5th place it is the Powerball Miss Madison. Remember, this boat coming onto the race circuit for the first time this year here in its hometown of Madison, Indiana. Look at the Rooster Tail being thrown off of the Miss Budweiser. You can watch the Rooster Tails on these boats. If it's sort of low and smooth, you know the boat is really maxing out on speed. As the white flag is thrown, you can see the Rooster Tail on the Miss Budweiser is tending to be on the smooth side. He's getting a very solid ride. My bet is, though, on the back stretch in this last lap, it'll roughen up a little bit because of the water roughening up. He won't be hitting it quite as evenly.
Less than 1 lap to go, and if the Budweiser, driven by Chip Hanauer from Seattle, can maintain, he will have won 8 consecutive heats and 2 races in a row since his return from the accident in Detroit, the first race of the year.
Smokin' Joe's doing a good job. Mark Tate, this was a boat that went on fire out in Louisville, Texas. Here is the Tide boat driven by Nate Brown. He's had a very, very good day of racing. But the lead boat, that's the boat that has had the best day of racing. Chip Hanauer aboard the Miss Budweiser as he comes around the final turn. He's got to be feeling awfully good about the way the boat is handled and the way he was able to handle it, even though I know the shocks of the boat hitting the water has got to irritate that back injury a little bit. He has himself a win, a championship in Madison, Indiana for the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup. A happy day for the Budweiser crew.
Second place will go to the Smokin' Joe camel-powered boat. That's driven by Mark Tate. He takes second place today. And as we watch the rest of the fleet come in, we're at the halfway point of the season now, Dick Griffin. We start our West Coast swing in a couple of weeks at Tri-Cities, Washington, in the Budweiser Columbia Cup. Going to see a new boat. Robert Young and Associates present Miss Tri-Cities. Scotty Pierce returns to the wars as a driver. The owner is Ron Jones Jr. Sad to say we'll miss Bob Fendler and his team in the Miss Sprint. They'll not join us until Honolulu as we look at the 5th place, Miss Madison, and now the winner's dock.
Boy, that is a happy dock, too. This, of course, being the second win in a row for Chip Hanauer since returning from his injury. And Bernie Little, the owner of the boat, obviously very, very happy with the way things are going for his crew at this point.